Hello, everybody. This right here is Crazy Beard. Crazy Beard, say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
So, as y'all know, I go through just a brief list of questions before the actual debate starts. So, what's your name? How old are you? And where are you from?
So my name is Tom. I am 28. I am from the great state of Nebraska. I call it Brasca for fun. Was that everything? I think that was everything.
Yeah, that was everything. So, what made you start posting political content on TikTok?
So it's funny. When I first got on TikTok, I was just looking for stupid little cat videos and dog videos, things to kind of pass the time,
Mm-hmm.
because I had broken my leg at that point and I was stuck in the house.
Oh, dang, that's too
Um,
bad. I'm sorry about that.
but oh, that's good. That was about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
But I found that it was fun to actually make TikToks. So a lot
Yeah.
of my old stuff, I had my cat with me, and I would do stuff with her.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I made something political. I can't remember what it was, and it just blew up. And I was like, "Oh, I didn't
Hey,
know this was a thing."
yeah, that's kind of what happened to me too. So where would you say that your political views sort of align, if you had to just like describe it like on the political compass?
I would say I'm pretty far left. Maybe not quite. Well, I guess I have to say I'm pretty much AOC.
Well, I mean, all the AOC is probably like halfway to the left. I mean, like full left is like full communism. I don't think AOC is a communist.
You know, I'm about as extreme as she is. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. So, out of all the 2020 presidential candidates, who do you support and why?
I think you know the answer to that.
Bernie Sanders.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately,
So,
it doesn't look like it's going to be him, though.
yeah, he recently suspended his ads, so he'll probably suspend his campaign completely fairly soon.
He
I'm
has
all,
been. Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. He
Go
has
ahead.
been directing people to send their donations to different COVID-19 charities instead
That's
of him.
that's honestly good. I was gonna ask you one other thing. So, what's like your favorite policy like that he has proposed, like out of all of them?
Medicare for all. And I know
I
that's
gotcha.
that's just his staple, but like, there's
Mm-hmm.
people that just they can't afford what they have, and even if they can afford it, they're putting it on credit cards or they're just going to debt permanently.
I
It's
gotcha.
not good.
We can debate that later if you want to, like Medicare for all versus like a different medical system.
I got you.
So what is one thing that you disagree with him on?
Well, recently someone had brought to my attention that he was using the N word in some of his literature, which isn't great. I mean, I
Well,
know,
it's been taken out of context though. I actually looked into that
correct.
a lot, and he was basically referring to how people like called them that. I don't. He wasn't like using it like as an insulting term towards them.
Absolutely. But as a white man, I try to just say the N word, and I don't even go
Oh
there.
yeah, no, I don't either. No, there's no reason to say something like that.
there's there's
There's none
there's no
whatsoever.
reason. You're
None
correct.
whatsoever. So what do you think that say it was him and Trump in a general election right now? What do you think his chances are of beating Trump?
Realistically, before this COVID-19 thing happened, I thought it was 100%. It was just going to be him all the way. Polls were looking that way, and you know, people like change. That's why Trump got elected in the first place. But during crises, people don't usually want change.
Yeah,
They want stability. So
I gotcha. So about the coronavirus. So what do you think about the severity of it, and how long if you had to estimate, how long do you think that this is all going to last for?
a lot of people are saying July and August.
Hmm.
I think the worst thing about the coronavirus, a lot of people are talking about the elderly generation, but there's a lot of immunocompromised people.
Hmm.
As a diabetic, I'm high risk. Anybody who's diabetic, if your sugars are high, if you're not controlled 100%, you're at risk.
Yep,
And there's a lot of diabetics.
that is true.
So it's
So
scary.
do you think that the media is making it sound a little bit worse than it is, or do you think that they're pretty on par with it?
I think we're all kind of focusing on it a little more than we should, but it's kind of like, have you ever been late on like a car payment? It's all you can think of. It's
Yeah,
this
I get what you're saying.
catastrophe, and it's hard to put your mind somewhere else.
I got you. So, how do you feel about Trump's response to the virus? And if you dislike it, what would you want him to do differently?
For a while there, he was doing pretty okay. I definitely like the stimulus bill. I think it's good that he wants to sign that into law. I don't know about this Easter deadline he keeps talking about. I try to catch
Well,
all of his updates, but whew, boy, Easter is a little close.
yeah, he's just saying that he's not literally saying that it's gonna be open by Easter. He's just saying that like that's everybody's goal is to be getting back up and running by Easter. I mean, it's pretty unrealistic, I will admit, but he's not literally saying that he's gonna like completely do everything, even if we still have cases.
I'm just hoping that's the case because Easter is only what, less than 2 weeks away at this point.
Something like that, yeah.
It's the
So
12th, so
yeah, so that's all the questions that I have. I usually look to the comments about what we want to talk about. Biden got accused of rape. Well, he got accused of sexual assault, but I mean, we can't just automatically assume the woman's telling the truth. So we have to take it to court and give him a fair trial. I don't think that, you know what I'm saying?
So I'll say this about it. I'm always on the side of the victim, but you're right. He's not guilty until proven guilty.
Yeah.
The thing is, with Biden, it's very easy to believe that he would do something like that.
Oh yeah, 100.
He's been caught sniffing hair. He's been caught touching.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, where there's smoke, there's fire. He probably isn't great.
Talk about abortion. That's usually what comes up first. This one, me and him are gonna agree on this. I'm very libertarian in that aspect. Whatever people want to do with their bodies, I don't think is any business of the state whatsoever.
I 100% agree. I mean, for me, what it's about is the woman's actually like, aware of what's going on. The fetus, or whatever you want to call it, the baby even.
No, I wasn't talking about abortion. I was talking about LGBTQ plus trans rights. What I put on.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
No. So
I was really confused for a second.
No. No, I'm sorry. I put the question. Yeah, I put the comment up that said LGBTQ and trans rights, and then I said I think that we'll agree on that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, however you feel, that's who you are. Whatever you're feeling inside, your actual parts don't determine what you are.
So we can get into abortion now, though. So I'll state my position, and
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. No worries. I'll state my position, and then you can state your position, and then we can rebuttal, I guess, or whatever you want to talk about. So I believe I'm a pro-lifer because I believe that fetuses have value, and life begins at conception. Therefore, I think that one of the duties of the government is to protect life, and I don't base my pro-life stance off of religion or anything. I just think that it's morally wrong, and it's the amount of babies that are aborted every year is kind of disgusting. I mean, like over 1 million every year. And in New York alone, there are more black babies that are aborted than born, and I think that that's just terrible. But yeah, that's how I see it. You can give your stance now.
So for me, it's about the woman, right? There's going to be circumstances where the pregnancy is not viable. There's going to be circumstances where the woman doesn't feel like she can take care of the kid. Our current foster system is not set up to handle all of that overflow if we were to get rid of abortion. Plus, if we were to ban abortion, there's no telling what it would do. You did comment on that article that I had. We don't really know exactly what would happen if we just got rid of abortion, but there are things such as coat hangers that used to be used for unsafe abortions. Well, it's risky to the woman, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, anytime you ban something like that, there's obviously going to be more instances of it happening like that. But I mean, I think that if let's say 50,000 out of the 1 million abortions every year are still done illicitly, I mean, I would say that's a massive net gain and almost 1 million lives being saved from it. That's how I see it.
But then you put the mother at risk because she might actually come to harm from that.
Well, keep in mind, abortion is a very, very like strategic procedure. It's very hard for even like a doctor to do them. I mean, like the coat hanger, I don't really think that that's actually like a thing. I mean, I'm sure some people have tried it, but like.
So I don't mean to ask anything too personal, but are you still in high school?
Yeah, I'm still in high school.
Did they make you read the books Grapes of Wrath, I believe it was?
No.
In that book, there's actually a story of a young lady that actually has a coat hanger abortion, and we did a whole history unit on that. It doesn't happen so much modernly, but that's because Roe v. Wade happened.
I mean, yeah, but that's kind of anecdotal, though.
It is anecdotal. I'll give you that 100%. But I just think that a woman should be able to choose what she wants to do because no one wants to kill any life, right? No one says yay abortions, right?
Well, I mean, some people do. I've seen a few videos on TikTok of people like basically parading that they went to Planned Parenthood and got an abortion. It was pretty disgusting, to be honest.
Those people are lunatics because a real person who's having an abortion is sitting there crying about it.
But
they don't want to do it. They do it because they have to.
Yeah, let me go back to what you said earlier, though. You said you believe that it's the woman's choice. In what world is it a woman's choice? I mean, I don't understand how you think that it's okay for a woman to just have the ability to take an innocent human life. I don't understand that.
It's because it's her body, right?
Well,
and I know
a baby is not her body.
The baby is not her body, no, but she's constructing that. My mom always used to tell me, hey, I brought you in this world, I can take you up. She's right. She brought me in this world. She didn't have to do that. Okay,
well, the vast majority of abortions are done when the women have consenting sex with men. Condoms are readily available. They're like you can buy a pack of condoms for $3 and they're 98% effective. I mean, the majority of abortions are not done because of rape or these other cases. It's like over 90% are done just because the woman doesn't want to have the baby or isn't ready or whatever.
And they might be doing it because they can't afford it. And
adoption. There's many charities out there that are like pro-life charities that want to help.
You yourself I'm sorry.
Huh?
I was going to say, you yourself have said the adoption system is broken as all hell.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying we just ban abortion and then not do anything else. I think that before we ban abortion, we should fix the adoption system. I think that we should devote a whole government agency just to adoption to speed up the process better.
And are there enough people out there that actually want to adopt?
Yes, there actually is. There's right now, I believe there's 3 million mothers that are waiting to adopt, and that's 2 million more babies that are being ready to adopt.
And let me ask you this.
And if you made adoption, I'm sorry, just let me finish. If you made adoption easier, like there would be way more people willing to adopt. And by the way, pro-lifers are also like 60% more likely to adopt. And I would make it completely legal for LGBTQ people to adopt.
That's what I was going to ask, because there was, I don't know if it was Texas. It was one of the southern states that was trying to ban same-sex couples from adopting. And it's like, in what world? We have so many babies that need parents.
I would take an LGBTQ couple adopting a baby any day over a baby being killed.
We can agree on that.
Day. Yeah, but you can't justify the taking of an innocent life. I don't understand that. Even in the case of rape, like say the woman decides the next day after she gets raped to go and kill a rapist, she would go to jail for first-degree murder. But if the woman just decides to kill the baby that did nothing wrong, she just walks scot-free. And I don't understand in what world that we can accept that as a society. It just doesn't make sense to me.
So the difference is the person that's walking around doing the raping, that's a human being that's fully formed. The fetus inside, it's not really a human. And I know pro-lifers disagree with me on that all the time, but they're not. They're not living and breathing. We don't celebrate birthdays from the conception period. We celebrate it from the birth.
Okay, two things. First of all, you said that it's not a human. If it's not a human, then what is it?
It's a zygote.
Okay, but what is the zygote? Is it a dog? Is it a moose?
It will eventually become a human, but while it's in the womb, it's a zygote. Until it's a fetus, and then it's a baby.
It becomes a fetus, I believe, at 8 weeks.
8 to 14, depending on who you listen to.
Okay, well, first of all, it's a human zygote either way. And regardless of that, it will potentially be a fully grown baby in 9 months or less. Still, it's a human being.
Does it feel pain, though?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So when an abortion is done, you can, like, there's a video of an abortion done online, actually. It's pretty disgusting. And you can see the baby moving away from the instruments in the womb because it's in pain.
Because all the research I've shown shows that pain begins at about 14 weeks.
Well, it might have been a second-term abortion. It might have been like a second trimester abortion then. But, I mean, again, it's still not right. It is a human being in there. And then second of all, you said it's not alive, which is not true. Over 96% of biologists say that life begins at conception.
Yeah, cellular life, sure, but not human life.
Okay, if it's not human life, then what life is it?
You and I are humans. We're talking, we're speaking. It's not human because it's still a fetus. It's still in the process of becoming a human.
Okay, but it's a human fetus.
But do you celebrate your conception day, or do you celebrate?
That's totally irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant.
Of course it is.
That's when a human life begins.
No, we celebrate birthday. Okay, a birthday is called a birthday for a reason. It's the day at which you are birthed.
Right, when you're born, created.
No, you're created at conception.
You're conceived, and you're being in the process of being created. You're not finished with being created until you're born.
Well, sure, you're not 100% finished when you're born, but even third trimester fetuses are literally 100% capable of living outside the womb.
Now, I'll give you this.
C-section.
A third trimester abortion, no one's saying that should be illegal. If they are, they're nuts.
Well, I'm saying it should be illegal.
No, I'm saying third trimesters.
Oh, third trimester.
Yeah, no,
Well, I met
nobody.
some people.
Well, they're crazy because that is definitely life.
But
But
see,
when
here's the, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
we're talking about the first 8 to 14 weeks, that's really not enough to make me want to put the mother below the fetus, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, when does the heartbeat begin and heartbeat and brain function?
I've heard
5 to 6 weeks.
5 to 6 weeks.
5
Okay.
to 6 weeks.
I've heard more like 8, but
well,
I'll give you that.
5 to 6 weeks, according, I believe, to the government. So 5 to 6 weeks is when heart and brain function begins. So why not? Why is it okay to abort it past that? I don't understand that.
I still think the mother has the priority because she's already alive.
But in what world is it okay that a mother can just take an innocent life? It is a human life. You can't get past that. It's not a moose. It's not a dog.
Let me put it to you a different way. What if someone had told you that you can't masturbate, right? I know that's a little bit
irrelevant. Totally
irrelevant.
It
is a little bit irrelevant, but bear with me. Would you want someone telling you what to do with your body?
It's not okay, but me masturbating has nothing to do with another innocent life.
Your sperm's alive.
Okay, but it's not a human life.
It's not a human, isn't it?
Yeah, of course your sperm isn't a human, but when the sperm meets egg, it becomes a human life.
It becomes a zygote.
Which is a human life. It's a human zygote. It's not a dog. It's not a cow. It's a human zygote. You can't get past that. You can't get past that.
I don't think we're gonna come to agreement on this one.
Okay, but we still haven't gotten past it. I mean, look. So you draw the line at the third trimester. This literally makes no sense because anytime you draw a line in the womb, you can apply that to other people. Like you say it begins at the heartbeat. There's other people that can't be alive without being on something like a pacemaker or something like that. Okay, a brain function. Well, yeah, but some people what if you got in a car accident and you're in a coma? Then you have to survive by ventilators. So we just kill those people too? I don't understand.
Guess who that decision falls on? It falls on the closest living relative, and guess who the closest living relative to a fetus is? The mother.
Okay, again, no. Somebody that's in a coma that isn't brain dead, unless they've specifically stated they want to be killed, cannot just be killed by the closest relative. The only time the closest relative can say, "Okay, pull the plug," is if they're medically adjudicated brain dead. That's the only time.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless they've specifically put it in there, you can't. Come on, dude. If somebody's in a coma and isn't brain dead, the mother, the wife or whatever, can't just be like, "Oh yeah, kill him."
Because I thought that's how it went especially when you get married. I thought you had power of attorney.
If you're brain dead, but not if you're living. And fetuses at 5 weeks are definitely brain alive. And again, even before that, the fetus has not put a will out or anything like that. The fetus is innocent. It hasn't said anything. It doesn't have a voice. The argument that it's okay to kill the most vulnerable people in our society is it's morally and ethically wrong.
But it's not our place to like the abortion, right? You can be anti-abortion and still be pro-choice. I personally don't like the idea of abortion. Honestly, I don't. But I fight for it because it's not my choice. I'm not a woman. I don't have to go through that.
That's such a convoluted argument. If you're pro-choice, you obviously support abortion. You can say you support a woman's right to choose, but you're supporting abortion in the end. That's such a convoluted argument. That's literally a logical fallacy.
Let's take it personally for a second, right? Let's say I was in that situation. Let's say I knocked somebody up. I would fight to keep that baby, but in the end, if the woman wanted to terminate it, that's up to her. It's not up to me.
According to the government, it's up to her, but it shouldn't be because it's ending an innocent human life.
I disagree.
All right. Well, I don't think we'll ever come to an agreement on this.
Probably not.
All right, guys. New topic. Talk about the wall. Okay. I think that. Okay, so here. I'll just give you my whole plan, to reform the whole immigration system, and then you can give me yours, and we can kind of debate it. I guess. Actually, you go first, since I went first on my last one.
Okay. So I know a lot of people have been talking about abolishing ICE. I don't know if I would go that far, but I would definitely reform ICE because they're in the news a lot doing some things they shouldn't be doing. But I do think we need an authority that patrols that area. The
Yeah.
border shouldn't be 100% open. It should definitely be easier, though. It's way too expensive to get in this country. Way
Well,
too expensive.
one thing, ICE doesn't patrol the border. That's Border Patrol. ICE is specifically like targeting illegals that are already in the country.
Right. We probably still need that though, because
Yeah,
if we were to make it easier to get in, I would expect us to enforce the illegals much more at that point.
Okay, is that it, or you want?
About, yeah.
Okay, so my whole plan is first, what we need to do is we need to make it easier to get into the country. Definitely, I think that the fact that it can take up to 20 years on a waiting list and tens of thousands of dollars is just pretty stupid. That's a very inefficient system. But I also think that we need to make a wall because about 20 to 25% of our illegal immigration comes through the southern border, and a lot of the heroin comes through the southern border as well, which just that destroys our inner city communities. Heroin does. And by building that wall, it would make it easier for border control to do their job. Second reason why I want the wall is because a lot of child sex trafficking goes through the wall, and it goes through the southern border that's unprotected. And I disagree with that. I mean, that's horrible. So I think that we should pay for that wall by taking some of the money out of our military budget. And then also what I would do is I would create a system like for the illegals that are already in here. I wouldn't just deport everybody, obviously. But what I would do is I would create a system that like we go through it with every illegal here and we say, look, what have you done while you've been in the country? If you've been beneficial to us, then you can stay and have citizenship, or at least a path to citizenship. But if you say you're you're a felon, or like you've done crimes or something, or you just haven't done anything, then I would say, I mean, take a hike. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think. That's what I think we should do.
So the problem I have with the wall is two things. I don't know. Do you watch Adam Ruins Everything at all?
I don't.
He did a great episode before the show even became a thing where he explained the reason the wall is a bad idea is that most illegal immigrations happen from overstays of visas.
That's actually not true.
It was last time I checked.
42% is overstayed visas, and then the rest is either through the border or like through the sea. 42% is overstayed visas. You can look it up. It's a fact.
42% still a large amount of people getting through that wall through legal means. I don't think in this day and age we need a wall. I think a wall is like an ancient Chinese, when they kept the Mongols out. I think that's a barbaric solution. More surveillance, sure, but a wall.
I wouldn't say a wall is barbaric. It's just enforcing the laws we already have. We already have a law that says, look, you can't come through the border illegally, and it would just make it easier for everybody else to do their job.
Think about how much upkeep on that wall is, though. It's not a one-time payment. You're going to have somebody to upkeep that wall.
Yeah, I would take money out of the $1 trillion military budget that we don't need.
Do you happen to know how much it would cost to upkeep that wall? I don't. I'm just asking.
Well, I know it definitely wouldn't cost anywhere near $1 trillion.
Definitely not, but I mean, that's a project that I don't think America needs. I think if we make it easier for people to come in legally, we can vet them pretty sufficiently there. And if we find out, okay, well, you want to come in legally and you have X, Y, or Z thing on your record, goodbye.
Well, keep in mind, a lot of the child sex trafficking and heroin does come through the unprotected southern border. So
that's why we have more surveillance stuff like drones and things like that.
So, well, yeah, but I mean, it would be a lot easier if we just had a wall.
But you can jump that wall.
You can jump 30 feet?
There's been people who have used ladders to jump that wall.
Yeah, and they were apprehended like that.
They can still jump the wall. If they're smart enough, there's not a system out
but
there.
It's hard. It's harder. It makes it harder, and it gives them more time. It gives them less time.
There's not a test out there that a smart man can't beat. Even my drone idea, someone can beat that.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that the wall, it gives the border patrol a lot more time to cross to apprehend the people that cross the wall, or they get.
And you don't. Oh, I'm sorry.
Huh? Go ahead.
And you don't think that drones would help them too, because they'd be able to identify those people sooner?
Well, I think they would, but drones. I mean, what are people going to do? Just fly drones around all day?
Well, I mean, if you have enough drones patrolling the border, you can identify exactly where people are, and then you can dispatch people accordingly.
I mean, I respect that opinion. I personally think that a wall would be more effective. I guess we can disagree. Um, talk about guns. Okay, we might disagree here. I believe so. I actually believe in better background checks and like the abolishment of private sales because I mean anybody can walk into a private sale and just buy a gun. That's kind of stupid. I think that we need to have some like basic mental check too before you buy a gun, just
Hmm.
because I don't want like people that are schizophrenic running around with guns. Like that's definitely not a good idea, or like severe depression or something. But yeah, I don't believe in banning assault weapons or anything like that. I believe it's our constitutional right to own an AR-15, and there's no data that shows banning them would reduce our crime at all. Anyways, you can go ahead. Give
So
me your.
we're kind of close on this one. I would say so. I personally am in the process of getting my conceal and carry currently, and
Good job. That's awesome.
I like the idea of having a class that everyone has to have. I know it's extra work, but being able to understand what laws there are and what you could potentially face if you do X, Y, or Z thing, I think that's a strong deterrent. I think more than banning things, education would probably be the best thing for this. And if you have
Well,
to go through a $150 permit and a 10-hour class, you're a lot less likely to do crime.
well, I don't think we should need a $150 permit just to own a regular firearm.
I mean, yeah, it's a hoop, but it's a hoop that I'm willing to jump through.
I mean, yeah, but that's kind of an infringement of the Second Amendment, don't you think? That makes it just harder to get a weapon.
Nope, it just makes it so that you have some education and people know that you have the gun.
Well,
Like
do you really think? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, if you have a conceal and carry permit, let's say someone gets shot down the street, the FBI or whoever can look at my record and say, okay, well, he's down the street, he has a conceal and carry. Let's go see what he did, see if his gun has prints or whatever they want to do with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you already have to have a concealed carry permit for a gun, but for to carry a pistol legally. But my issue with that is like, first of all, that just makes it harder for regular people to get a gun that need one. Say like somebody doesn't have a lot of money and they want to buy a gun to defend themselves and they don't have enough to pay for the permit yet. But then like the next day, somebody like they need it. This actually happened. So like a friend of mine's mom, she got a pistol, and good thing there's not a waiting period for pistols in Texas, because the next day somebody tried to rape her. And I know that that's anecdotal, but it does happen. I mean, like women use their pistols like 200,000 times every year in defense of in defense from sexual assaulters. Um, and also with like the class thing, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like that would be pretty ineffective because like, I mean, a criminal, they're not going to not commit a crime just because, I mean, they do a class. I mean, come on.
There are hard criminals that won't, but there's people that may be thinking about doing something that they normally wouldn't. And if they sit in a class and they say, okay, well, I can face how many years in prison? They might rethink their idea.
Well, I mean, everybody knows that they'll get prison for life if they murder somebody. I mean, that's kind of common
Oh,
knowledge.
you would think common sense is a lot more common than it is, Nick.
Well, I mean, that's pretty common sense.
You're on TikTok, right? You've seen some of the people.
Well, yeah, everybody knows that you go to jail for life or at least 50 years for murder.
Uh, I think sitting in a class definitely does something to you because I don't think I really even knew what to do with gun control until recently, until I started looking into the class. Because for me, I was so conflicted. I was like, I don't want people to get hurt, but I also want to protect myself. I think being in a class lets you kind of have both worlds. You can have that gun, but you have the proof that you know how to use that gun, and we've educated you.
I mean, I don't know that like a class online would teach somebody how to use a gun, though. I
Oh
mean,
no, it's in person.
so you want people to go somewhere in person after buying the gun. So you want to like set up like, I guess, stations in every like city about it. Is
It
that
already
how you?
exists. Well, it already exists here in Nebraska. There's a gun range down the street that I would go to do my test. I was going to do it before this whole Corona thing happened.
Well, yeah, but like a test through the government, though. It would have
It's
to be.
actually it's actually not through the government. It's through a government approved firing range. The guy that I was going to get certified from is an ex-army sniper.
That's interesting. I'll have to look into that.
No one better to teach you about the safety of guns than somebody who's actually been in a combat
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, I can look into that for sure. How do you think that we should like ban assault weapons?
You know, I don't know if I've seen enough evidence to say that it would do much.
It wouldn't. More people are
I
killed
think
by hands and fists and blunt objects than AR-15s.
I
Actually,
think it's much
than
more
all
about
rifles.
education.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's more about education.
I got you. But yeah, guys, just so y'all know, AR-15, like all rifles are about 5% of all of our shootings, like all of our gun killings, and which is literally stupid because like the idea of banning them is really stupid because more people are actually killed by hands, fists, and like blunt objects than AR-15s and other rifles, which is pretty interesting. Wage gap. What do you think about the wage gap?
You mean like the one between men and women?
Well, yeah, like the gender pay gap, that statistic.
Okay. So I recently did some research that kind of says that that may be going away. A lot of what I've been seeing recently is actually pointing towards the fact that it's different positions. Like, men will usually take higher risk jobs than women and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I would say this: there are still some cases where it happens. They're very few and far between because there is no actual law to prevent it. I
That's
think it'd
not
be
true. They're the Equal Pay Act, I believe, of 1950 something.
is there because I
Yeah.
haven't been able to find it in my research.
Yeah, I'll look it up right now. It's like the Equal Pay Act of 19 something.
Because I would definitely say that if it is still happening, it needs to stop.
Oh yeah, I think it's law. The Equal Pay Act of 1963. It was a labor law that that basically says that you can't discriminate pay based on sex for the same job. So yeah, that's been in effect for 70 years or so, or yeah, like 60 years.
I think more of what women face in the workplace, not specifically gap wise, is more like they may not get promoted because they take maternity leave or things like that. Because you can make a law against those things, but some bosses still discriminate on those factors. Even though they're not supposed to.
I agree with you, but like the whole gender pay gap is really just a flawed statistic because it only accounts for income. Like it doesn't take anything like hours worked or overtime or any of that into effect. It's just based on income. And there was actually a study done by Harvard that they took the 10 biggest cities in the US and they compared the pay of men that have the exact same like qualifications as women, and in most cases women actually made more than men did with the same job qualifications and experience and stuff. So it's interesting.
So a weird thing to kind of flip this over. I'm not much of a sports person, but do you remember a while ago there was that whole controversy about women's soccer and how the women were getting paid less even though they were winning more?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think that that's mostly just because like people watch men's soccer more, and it just brings in more revenue, so that's why they get paid more. I mean, like they're not gonna pay them as much if they don't bring in as much revenue. Like people, like the whole like idea behind like paying people for like their salaries, like in any professional sport, is how many tickets they're going to sell, how much money that they will bring into that team. It's not about gender, sex, whatever you want to call it, or any of that stuff. It's
not about skill either. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, yeah, skill will always play into it because the more skilled you are, the more tickets that they're going to sell because you're on the team. That's a part of it too.
I don't remember the exact statistic, but I want to say the women won the last 2 or 3 world championships, and the men haven't won in a while. Not a sports guy, honestly, not.
Well, yeah, you'd have to look at how many people like watch the men's championship versus the women's championship, because if more people watch the men's, which is probably the case, I mean, they're going to pay them more because they bring in more revenue. I mean, if not as many people are watching the women, they're not going to pay them more money because they won't have the money to, because they won't bring enough revenue. It's not like discrimination.
So it's not coming from the same company. It's not just one team in 2 different divisions.
Well, no, each team will have private contracts with them. It's not like the I don't watch soccer, but like the soccer commission, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Debate.
Well, I know there was a controversy about it because I remember that. What was her name? She was protesting about it for quite a long time.
Yeah, I don't know. Debate weed. I think that we can both agree on that. I don't think there's any reason why weed should be illegal. I mean, it's just a waste of time.
It should be legal and it should be taxed to high hell because
guess what? It's so much.
That's revenue. A lot of money.
Yeah, so much revenue for the government.
Hell, I'd pay high taxes for legal weed.
I wouldn't, but if it's legal, you do you, man. More power to you.
So then you're not pro weed. You just don't want it banned. I got you.
The main reason that I don't want it banned isn't necessarily because I think it's bad. I think that smoking weed is bad. I mean, it basically destroys brain cells, but like at the same time, there's no, I mean, like so many people do it already. Like it's not like you're gonna have this massive influx of people that starts doing it. I mean, at least by me, I don't know about you, but like I mean, a lot of people in high school near me do it all the time. I mean, they don't seem to have any trouble getting it. So like, I mean, I don't. If we can make some revenue off of it, I mean, tax revenue off of it, I don't see any point. I don't see any point in making it illegal. And also, I mean, it's not like you go out in public and like start harassing people when you're high on weed. Like, it doesn't it like calm you down, pretty much.
Yeah, weed definitely does usually make you mellow. There's two types. There's indica, which you can remember of in the couch. It's the mellow, calm kind, and there's sativa, which is the more kind of hyperactive kind. The reason that I'm kind of for it is that we have a lot of problems with narcotics right now, and weed could be an alternative to that. If they could take just the THC out, put it in pill form, because I don't know if you know this, right now it's still illegal to research weed. There's very few government contracts out there for people that are actually researching it. If it were legal, any mom's dad or company could pick it up and say, all right, I'm going to make a pill out of this to get rid of pain.
Yeah, it would help our entire economy too, because I mean, people would put money into that, and it would just get recirculated. I think. Yeah, I think that would be great. Healthcare. We can talk about healthcare if you want. I know you. I gave my position first on the last one, so you can give yours first.
Okay. So I'm obviously for Medicare for all. There's just so many people that are. I think the number is 82 or 83 million is the number that Bernie always says that are underinsured or not insured. And I can share my personal story with it, anecdotal as it'll be. I used to work for the cable company around here, and I had the best goddamn insurance. Sorry for cussing, but the best insurance.
No, you're fine. Free speech on this channel.
Okay. Best
it's not
insurance.
racist. No racist speech on here.
Well, you don't have to worry about that for me. Yeah. No, but I had the best insurance in the world. Like, my deductible was $1,000, literally $1,000, lowest deductible I've ever had. I lost that because I lost my job, and at that same time, literally got diagnosed with diabetes. Literally started going back.
Yeah. I have a good plan to reform that part of it too, but keep going.
I'm shocked at how there's so many people that don't think we need universal health care. I know there's people that would rather do it in a capitalist way than in the Medicare for all way, but I really think that if we all pay in that same system, you're not necessarily paying for Joe, you're paying for yourself, kind of the way that Social Security works. We're all just paying in that same system, and then, like, let's say Merck wants to raise the price of insulin. The government can say, well, do you want to lose 300 million people, or do you want to keep the contract and keep the price where it should be? They bargain on our behalf. That's why I'm for Medicare for all.
Okay, so I kind of believe in the capitalist system. So I think that what we should do is not necessarily get rid of private insurance companies, obviously, but like if you want to have private insurance, you can. If you don't need to, you don't need it. But the problem right now is, I'll go into like, there's like a lot of problems with our system right now. Our system is insanely broken. So the first problem that I have is that whenever you're getting medical treatment, like from a doctor or whatever, you can't ask them how much it's going to cost up front. I mean, what other service can you have? Whatever other service exists that you can't know the price before you get it? I mean, like there's nothing. Like imagine going to a restaurant and saying, look, I want this cup of coffee. How much is it? Oh no, you'll see it when you get the receipt. I mean, like that's just BS to me, to be honest with you. So I think that. And also, the second issue is with the drug prices. So basically, right now, you can have a patent on a drug for like near infinite amount of time, which is terrible because it basically allows the company to legally price gouge their drugs, and it makes it harder for everybody to get them, which shouldn't be legal. I think that somebody should have I think that if somebody has a patent on something like a new drug, they should be able to keep it for a year or two at most, and then left to all the generic brands to create their own version of it. Okay. Third part. I think that everything should just be left to the free market because, I mean, the free market has proved to work good for everything else. I think that it would create competition and prices between doctors, and eventually it would drive down the cost of everything medically. I mean, you look at the free market everywhere else, you've got people competing to give the lowest price to everybody on everything else. That's what every corporation does. So yeah, I think that if we leave it to the free market, everything will go down lower. Secondly, everything would get better because like with the free market now, everything just keeps improving. So yeah, I think that would personally be the best way. You would get better medical care overall than we have now, and you would get lower prices, and you would know how much everything costs. That's what I would do.
But with the Medicare for All system, you could legislate all that. You could say, hey, you can't have that patent for more than a year. You could make it so that the private insurance companies, they don't exist anymore, right? You just got the one. So the drug companies can't compete. They can't try to go to different insurance companies to buy that medicine. They have to set it at a fair price. That's why I'm more for one insurance plan under the government, because there's bargaining power on our side instead of bargaining power with the insurance companies.
But see, here's the issue that I see with that. Medicare for all is very affordable, like to the people, but it's not affordable whatsoever to the government. I mean, Medicare for all would increase our spending like by, I believe, $20 trillion, no, $30 trillion over a 10-year period, which is, I mean, that's an insane amount of money. To get that, you're going to just have to tax the middle class more and tax the rich more and tax everybody else more.
So I know you probably knew I was going to do this. I'm going to point to Bernie Sanders. If you look at his website, he's got a whole list of ways to pay for it. Why is it that we always talk about Medicare for all in periods of 10 instead of one? $30 trillion over 10 years is $3 trillion over a year. We're spending $2 trillion.
Do you know how much our federal budget is? It's like 4.7 trillion. That's like almost.
I hear you.
It's almost the full federal budget.
But have you noticed that it's always progressive policies that we talk about in 10-year volumes instead of the 1 year? Why do you think that is?
I don't think that's a relevant question.
It is a relevant question.
That's just what people estimate it to be over 10 years. I mean, estimating it to be 1 year doesn't really like give people much security.
But if you break it down to three trillion per year, right? We're spending $2 trillion on the coronavirus right now. What's the difference?
That's a pandemic. That's completely different.
And there's an epidemic right now of people that are underinsured. 87 million people is a lot of people.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that I have the issue with. Again, if it would be left to the free market, every cost would go down, and not only cost and everything would go down, and the quality of medical care would get better. Not to mention, literally every other country may not have people dying because of lack of coverage, but their medical care for the people that can pay for it is garbage. I mean, like, just look at Canada. Like, you have to wait significantly longer in Canada for elective surgeries, not to mention that the US has the best cancer survival rate by far in the entire world. I mean, people come across the Canada border all the time to get medical care here just because it's better. We have the best medical care. And I think that if we left it to the free market, costs would go down and everything would get even better, because that's what happens in a free market society. You constantly have people that are competing to make stuff better and make stuff cheaper. So that's in Medicare for all, not to mention only that, but with Medicare for all, the government is basically telling doctors, look, unless they're working at a private hospital, I'll give you that. But if they're working at a publicly funded hospital, which is a lot of hospitals, I mean, the government will literally tell them, look, you're going to work for this amount and you're going to like it. And I don't think that that's fair, because doctors spend like $250,000 just getting in 15 years of their life getting that education. I don't think that should be dictated by the government. I think that we should leave that to the free market.
So let's start with the free market here. So when we're talking about the free market being so great, we're also not talking about the fact that we're number 37 in hospital beds per capita. We do not have as many hospitals per people, because what's happening is the rural hospitals are closing down because the big city hospitals are buying them out and saying, okay, you got to drive 30 miles to our hospital now because it's more profitable that way. The profit margin's not as great as you think it is.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying like a profit margin. I just think that, and first of all, it's very hard to start up a hospital with all the compliances and stuff now. I think that if we left it to the free market, it would just be easier for all doctors, because there's a lot of doctors out there that only take a couple insurance companies because it's just such a pain in the ass to deal with. If we left it all to the free market, it would be initially better. Medical quality would go up, costs would go down for everybody. I mean, that's what happens with everything else in the free market. And
you said it right there. There's a couple doctors that only take certain insurance companies. Why is that? Because there's a lot of insurance companies. If we just had the one insurance plan, everybody would cover under every doctor.
Yeah, and every doctor would be basically forced to work for a certain price because
they still get paid well. I mean, if you look at like
you don't know how much they're going to get paid. Nobody knows.
In the UK, they still get paid about, I think it's 60 to 70,000 pounds per year, and that's pretty close to what they get paid here in America.
That's the UK, though, and they have like far less people than we do. They don't have near the deficit that we have. They don't have near the national debt that we have. I mean, and the government's going to try and squeeze any little bit of money out of anything they can. And if to feed our giant military budget, which we don't need. I mean,
we can agree there. And I mean, that's something we can cut down on, but that's not the prime way that we're going to get the money to pay for Medicare for all. Out of the things that people have floated, I actually like Elizabeth Warren's idea the best for paying for it. A 1% tax on the top 1/10 of the 1%. That would gather almost enough money. I forget the exact number, but that was one of the things that was in her plan that I really liked.
okay, so the top 1% should just pay for everybody's medical care.
Let me put it to you this way, Nick. If I had $20 billion in my pocket right now, I'd be happy to give you 10 billion of them. Happy.
Well, let me tell you, if I had 20 billion in my pocket, I would not be willing for the government to forcibly take it away from me. I would much rather I would much rather put that money into charity or something else. I don't think that I don't want the government taking away half my money. I mean, that's nonsense.
But who needs that amount of money? Let's put it into terms that's not money. Let's say I have 10 beds and there's 9 people. Do I need 10 beds? No, I can let the other 9 people.
Not the same thing at all.
It is the same thing.
No, it's not.
Money's a resource like anything else.
Okay, but the way that how do you think that those people created their wealth? They created it because they had an idea, and they created it through basically a ton of voluntary transactions that other people engaged in with them, and it benefited the nation. I mean, people don't get rich like that from providing a bad product. They would go out of business. That's not, the government isn't entitled to all their money like that. That's immoral.
And that's great, but if we're going to get to this topic, we'll also say that a lot of companies aren't paying their fair share to their workers in the first place. CEOs make 280 times the same amount that their lowest minimum wage worker makes.
Okay, well, the CEO also came up with the idea and is running the company.
Can he do everything without his employees, though?
No, but it's irrelevant. The employee voluntarily agreed to work at that price. If they don't like it, they can walk out and try and find a job somewhere else.
I mean, I'll give you that you could try to find another job, but it's not that easy to pick up your life like that. How many jobs have you quit?
I mean, I've had 2 jobs in my lifetime. I'm probably not a good example.
Okay. I'm 28. I've had about 3. And my first one, I worked at McDonald's, and I rose up to a managerial level. I didn't quit that job even though I fucking hated it. I was just miserable all 6 years of it. I didn't quit because I didn't know if I'd get another job, if I would get the same benefits, if I would be able to get enough money. Finally, I quit because basically someone made me. It's not as easy to quit a job as you think it is.
I mean, yeah, again, but what I'm saying is even in the beginning, they know what the pay is going to be in the beginning of the agreement. If they didn't like the pay, they can try and, before they have the job, they can try and find a job somewhere else. The workers don't hold any shares in the company. I mean, they might hold a few if they decide to buy like stocks through like an app or something. But I mean, it's not the worker's job to dictate how much they get paid. It's just not it.
Do you have a company in Texas called Hy-Vee?
No, Hy-Vee's a Midwestern thing. We have HEB, which is basically like Hy-Vee.
Are you aware of how they kind of operate?
I'm aware of how HEB operates, but not Hy-Vee.
So in Hy-Vee, workers get stock options and they get a share of the store's profit. It's very minimal, but it encourages them to do better. It's not a perfect system, and they're still usually paid minimum wage, but at least they have something. At least they have something that they can work towards.
But see,
what do you think about that idea?
I mean, that's honestly, I'm all for stock options and stuff like that. A lot of companies do stock options. But see, here's the issue that I have with that. 1, not every corporation is going to want to do that. 2, what about small businesses? A lot of small businesses aren't even publicly traded. But to achieve that, like the workers getting all their rights and everything like that, you're going to have an authoritarian government say, look, y'all are going to make them do this. Y'all are going to do this and like this, and you're going to like it. I mean, not to mention that raising the minimum wage would put a lot of small businesses out of business or just lay off people. Like for example, my dad owns a couple of small businesses. He said that if the government raised the minimum wage to $15, like Bernie Sanders is saying, he would have to lay off people because he couldn't afford to pay them that much.
And I remember reading that article, and I remember seeing that he cut back people's hours so that he could go ahead and keep that $15 minimum wage. And yeah, that's a hard thing that people are going to have to go through. And whatever legislation that we write probably will have to take small businesses into account. We may not be able to enforce a $15 minimum wage on small businesses. I work for a small company myself. Love them to death. They don't pay me $15, I'll tell you that. But they do pay me in benefits and things like that, and I feel valued. But basically, when it comes to the big companies that can't afford to do that, I don't see why we don't make them do it.
I mean, yeah, but again, I don't understand your premise here. Like, I don't understand why somebody that works a job that only requires basic use of their prefrontal cortex deserves that much money. I mean,
I
like,
mean, it's for their time, Nick. No
okay,
matter what you're
that
doing, whether
doesn't
you're
mean
a
anything.
mop, you should be able to live on minimum wage. FDR instituted it with that idea.
Okay, if I was if it was before FDR came, I would get rid of everything that FDR did. FDR is the reason why our deficit is so big today. We pay almost $4 trillion in entitlements every day.
So you're telling me you don't like Social Security then?
No. I mean,
So
at this point, we have to keep it because people have already paid into it. But
when
like,
you're an old man, you don't want that money that you've been paying in.
no, I would just get rid of. Okay, if it was before Social Security ever came, I would just get rid of it so nobody would have to pay into it. That's literally redistribution of wealth.
Yeah, it is redistributed. Sorry, I can't say that word. It is that. But it's a good version of that because that way everybody can retire. It's a guaranteed retirement. It's not a lot to live off of, but it's a guaranteed retirement, and everyone deserves to retire.
But the majority of people that pay into that never get the money back. First of all, second of all,
Oh, yeah, they do.
I believe Social Security takes 7% out of your check or something like that, 7 or 8%, something like that, out of every time you get a check. Imagine if you put 8% of that into like a Roth IRA or a 401k, you would have way more money than in retirement than the government would provide you with.
Who's going to do that though? If we didn't do this
Smart people
mandatory,
would do that.
yeah, well, everyone's not going to do that. Let me just put it to
That's
that way.
their fault. That's not my fault.
Why don't you empathize with people that don't have that idea? They're people too, Nick.
I never said they weren't people, but I don't think that I should have to pay a ton of money into Social Security, never get that much money back, and then have it just given to other people that weren't smart with their money in the first place.
So a little bit of anecdotal evidence coming your way. My job is I listen to customer service calls, and what I listen to is the mortgage industry. I listen to veteran loans specifically. A lot of these elderly people that I listen to, their only income is Social Security. They don't make a lot from Social Security. They make on average about $800 to $900 a month, which
Yeah.
isn't a lot, but it's something. And not everybody has the funds to be able to actually invest into their future like that. If somebody were to do what you were suggesting, great. But me myself, if I suddenly had 8% of my check back, I don't know. I could say I could do that. I might actually put that into my car instead because it's a right now need.
But that's your fault. That's not other people's fault. If you want to put that into your car, that's your choice. I don't think it's the government's duty to redistribute other people's wealth.
I think it is the government's duty to take care of their citizens.
That's okay. The citizens that were smart would be doing way better. Okay, if you put 7% into a 401k or a Roth IRA, you would have far more money left than the money that Social Security will give you. I think it was like if you put 5% of your salary every year, making $50,000, into a Roth IRA with the S&P 500 into the S&P 500 fund, which makes, I believe, about a 10% 10 to 15% return every year. You would end up with around $1 million at the end of your retirement.
It's a great statistic, but the economy is not always going to be that way. Like the people are doing it right now, they're probably not seeing a lot of return right now.
Well, yeah, obviously, in a capitalist society, you always go through brief recessions and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it always comes back up. Like here, I'll show you the S&P 500 fund over the last, or I'll show you the Dow Jones one over the last. So this is when the Dow Jones started. Hold up. That's when it started. Right here is when it started in 85, and it's only gone up. I mean, it ain't, those are those dips you see in there are the recessions in there. But I mean, it goes up over time. It gains 10 to 15% return every year.
It's a fair alternative, but I still believe in Social Security. I always will.
We can disagree. I mean, that's a lot of topics, 55 minutes. I say we ended at about an hour. I went way too long yesterday, like 2 hours.
I caught some of it, and I got to say, it was a good one.
Yeah, Proud Snowflake is a very smart guy. I will admit that. He's a nice guy, too. I respect the man.
I did actually have a question for you in regards to these debates.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about debating either K-Pal or Gabby Katharina?
I don't know who those people are.
They're both political TikTokers, kind of the same lean as me. Gabby Katharina is from the Liberal Hype House. She's been saying she's wanted to debate you for a long time.
Tell her to DM me on Instagram.
Okay. And then KPAL7, she's a school teacher from Texas. And she's also a great recommendation if you need somebody to debate.
Tell them to DM me on Instagram. I'll debate anybody.
Love to see that.
Yeah.
Because I'll be the first to admit I'm not the most elegant guy, but I do believe passionately what I believe.
I got you. There's a wait list for babies in the U.S. to be adopted. They don't go into foster care. Yeah, that is true. Rarely any babies go into foster care at all anymore. Like orphanages are being like torn down because there's not any babies. They're just waiting to be adopted, actually, which is good for sure. I still think that the process should be more efficient for adoption.
There's a lot of people saying gender.
Gender. Okay, we can do gender. So I believe that you stated your position first on the last one.
So it's a pretty broad topic, but in general, I mean, there's definitely more than two genders. There's at least three because there's intersex. Whatever you feel you are on the inside, you are. I mean, if you feel you're a woman, you're a woman. You feel you're a man, you're a man. You feel you're non-binary, you're non-binary. I'm not going to regulate your body. I'm going to treat you how you want to be treated.
So you think that if somebody has a penis, they're a woman if they feel like they're a woman?
Yep, there's been studies done that show that their brain functions like a woman.
Well, that doesn't matter. Your sex is determined by your genitalia.
I mean, is it though?
Yes. Chromosomes and genitalia. Yes.
But what about intersex, Nick?
Well, intersex is different. So intersex is a very small portion, and intersex people generally have almost like 99% of the time, intersex people have very defining characteristics that points them to one gender or the other. Like, for example, a micro penis or a very large clitoris, as Steven Crowder would say. I've watched that one video. It was kind of funny.
Not aware of it, but I mean, I just don't see the point in I guess denying them that personal liberty. They're in charge of their bodies. If you feel you're one way, that's who you are.
So you think that some massive bodybuilder guy that has a penis, you think that he can suddenly decide that he's a woman just because he feels like he's a woman?
You saw that? Did you see that clip of GameStop where that guy said, "Excuse me, it's ma'am"? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I would. By the way, I would never like do that to somebody in public. There's no reason to like just start shit with people. I'll call you what you want to be called, but deep in my heart, I still know, like, look, you're this, you're not that.
And see, for me, that distinction's not there. If you feel you are a woman, you're a woman. You feel you're a man, you're a man. I will respect that 100%.
Okay, if I feel like I'm a moose, am I suddenly a moose?
That's not the same thing, Nick, and you know it.
I mean, okay, maybe not, but still, think about it. Like, a large man can't suddenly think he's a woman. Like, I mean,
sure, she can.
He can think it, but he's not at the end of the day.
But he is. His brain could be that way.
Well, we don't determine sex by brain.
Well,
we determine it by chromosome. Okay, well, that's not biology though.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
According to biology, we determine that by your genitalia and your chromosomes.
So what about non-binary folks? People that sometimes feel like a man, sometimes feel like a woman.
I mean, I'll call them whatever they want to be called, but their sex is whatever their genitalia is.
Because I got to tell you, I know several people that have female genitalia, but they identify as a man. And sometimes they identify as a woman, and I will call them they, them, because that's what they prefer. That's their experience. Yeah. It's not mine. I don't know what it feels like to be in their brain. I know I feel like a man, but they may not.
I mean, yeah, but like at the end of, I'll call you what you want to be called. I'm not going to like insult you in public and like start a fight over it or anything like that. Like, I mean, I'm not going to be disrespectful, but at the end of the day, if you're born a man, you're still a man, no matter what you do. You cannot change your chromosomes.
And you may not be able to, but your brainwaves may be different. So maybe we'll call the physical part sex, and we'll call the identity gender.
Well, I mean, I personally don't believe that gender is separate from sex. It never has been until gender theory, I believe, in the 1940s by Francis Dubois. I believe that was brought to attention by Francis Dubois, like gender theory. So it's a relatively new thing. Just the problem that I see with it is that it just like genders are popping up like all day. Like how many genders are there?
So the three I can name are male, female, non-binary. Well, I guess four. Intersex. I'm
Fair.
sure there's more than that, but that very basic palette that covers quite a lot of people, and it does nothing bad to you to just accept them. And I know you say you'll call them what they want to be called.
Yeah, I will.
Bad, but like, what harm does it do just to accept them?
Well, I'm not denying them as people, but I believe in science, and scientifically, if you're born a man, you will always be a man. You cannot change your chromosomes. And not to mention, the vast majority of trans people don't have the surgery to reconstruct everything down there.
I think we're not going to agree here either, but I did want to make one last point on that.
Go ahead.
So if they do have the surgery, let's say they have their genitals removed and they have a vagina now, are they now a woman?
The chromosomal biology would say no.
Okay. See, for me, it's not about the parts anyways. I was just curious what you thought.
Gotcha. Okay, guys, when y'all use this joke, like, that's not funny anymore. That's so old.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so this is one issue that I have, because if
I didn't catch that. What did that say?
Here you go. So
should a 13-year-old girl be able to get a brush?
So
okay.
Yeah, so this is the big issue for me, because most of the time a 13-year-old girl is, I mean, very rarely 13-year-old girls are like 100% developed, but a lot of 13-year-old girls, like, they're not really, they may be able to conceive a child, but their bodies aren't really developed enough yet to like carry the child and have a safe like pregnancy, or safe birth. I'd have to actually look up the death rate on that, like, for young children, but I would say that young children like that, especially if they're raped, I don't think that they should have to. At that point, I think it's a little bit different. But you got to keep in mind that is literally like a tiny portion of the people that have abortions. I mean, rape alone is 0.5% to like 1% of abortions altogether, and the amount of rape that is younger than that, like younger people, is probably less than, probably a 0.1% or less.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. I would add, though, you might want to push that up to either 14 or 15, because I don't think the female anatomy is really capable of giving birth up until 16.
Well, she just said 13 years old. I was just referring to that number. Okay, so this is an issue that I have with Planned Parenthood. Okay, Planned Parenthood says that 99.
I'm sorry, Nick. I'm old. What was that?
No, you're good. Let me find it for you.
I try to read it, but it goes away too quick. I'm like, what?
Let me find that.
Don't get old, Nick. I'm 28. Don't ever be 28.
You're not old yet. 28 is not old.
Oh, I'm old, man.
I'm trying to find that comment. I can't find it. Okay, so basically what the comment says was like, Planned Parenthood supports safe use of birth control and provides affordable birth control to women. Okay. So here's the issue that I have with that. Planned Parenthood lies a lot. They lied about the amount of abortion. They've been caught lying about the number of abortions they were doing. They've been caught lying about what they do with the baby parts. They are actually been caught selling the baby parts. Pretty disgusting organization, if you ask me. But so a lot of people have this misconception or have this misthought, or I guess, if you will, that Planned Parenthood provides all this birth control and all this safe condoms and stuff like that. Planned Parenthood provides about 1% of the birth control that is sold in the United States. That's literally nothing. Like, that's a minuscule amount of people. So I don't think that we can justify 1% of the birth control sold to have an organization that literally sells human baby parts. Honestly, let me tell you, I'd be perfectly fine with Planned Parenthood just giving out free birth control or doing whatever, or low price birth control, whatever you want to say. But the problem I have is with their abortions. Until they stop doing their abortions, I will forever be against the funding of Planned Parenthood.
So I actually know quite a bit about Planned Parenthood. A lot of my videos lately have been about abortion rights. So Planned Parenthood originally started as a eugenics oh God, I can't talk.
It started from a racist woman that wanted to prevent the black race from being prevalent.
But what it does today is actually a good thing. It does give out birth control, but that's not the only thing it does. It also offers parenting classes. It offers male and female sex education courses. it offers a whole host of things, not just the birth control.
Yeah.
But it teaches men and women and teenagers how to have safe sex in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, we're both in very conservative states. I don't know what your health class was like. Mine was literally nothing.
Abstinence.
Yeah, they didn't teach me about condoms. What the fuck is a condom? Luckily, I had the internet, but that's not the point. Planned Parenthood does so much good. I know you're anti-abortion, but to just defund them completely, ooh, they do so much good in the community.
But again, they provide about 1% of the birth control.
What about the parenting classes? What about the education and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, you can look up education about condoms and safe sex on YouTube. You don't have to drive all the way to Planned Parenthood for that.
I don't know. I remember when I was 16, I would really have loved someone to sit down and talk to me about it because no one ever did.
Well, Planned Parenthood does like 350,000 abortions a year. That's a mass genocide, in my opinion. So until they stop doing that, I don't think they should get any funds whatsoever. But I mean,
for me, that's 350,000 women that are served. You see that differently.
I mean, it's 350,000 zygotes, whatever you want to use. It's 350,000 human lives that are ended because of it. I mean, whatever you want. I mean, there's no way around it. It's a human life that's being ended. It's wrong, whether you acknowledge it or not.
Conscious experience of the woman's always going to be what I go with, though.
I guess that's just where we differ on opinion.
You know what we haven't done? We haven't done climate change, have we?
I think that me and you can agree a lot on that. There might be one part we disagree with. So I believe in climate change. Okay, guys, I believe in science. I don't disagree with science. I don't just listen to everything Trump says. Okay. Science says that the Earth's temperature is rising over time. Science also says that men and our industrialized world is having a little bit of an effect on that, which I also believe. But where I disagree with is the fact that AOC comes out and says that the world is going to end in 12 years, which is not even true. In fact, the author that wrote that piece literally wrote another article that said that she was wrong and she misconstrued what he said in the article. So I don't think that it's necessary to pass something like a Green New Deal to do that. I think that what we should do is just kind of more so incentivize like fossil fuel like companies that burn fossil fuels for power. I think that we should give them some kind of incentive into investing more into cleaner power like nuclear or something like nuclear or wind or something like that. By doing that, I think that we should either just start taxing them more heavily on fossil fuel power or offer them just like a lot lower taxes on developing new safer power. Just the problem that I have with all like fully clean power, like not considering nuclear, like wind power and hydropower and other stuff like that. There's always some major downfall that comes along with it, like the solar panels. So California wants to switch to a fully solar powered and wind powered state. Well, to do that, the solar panels heat up a lot, and to cool the solar panels, like to cool all the solar panels, in order to like keep the whole state running on power, like just to cool them, they would deplete all of their lakes in like less than a year if they did that. So that's the one. With renewable energy, there's always some major downfall, and the one that's actually the safest form of power available is nuclear power. There have been less people killed in nuclear power plants around the world than any other source of power whatsoever. And the only bad thing is when the enriched uranium runs out, which is like a 700-year half-life. So you're not going to have to dispose of it very often. I mean, and they're so much more efficient and cost effective. They just cost a little bit more to get up and running. So I think that by providing those companies incentives to invest more in nuclear power, I think that's the big way that we fight climate change as well.
So a couple of things on AOC's Green No Deal. That bill would never pass as is. It would have to definitely be modified.
Of course, yeah.
Specifically, like the cows. We're never going to get rid of cows.
The bill actually doesn't get rid of cows. That's just like that's right propaganda. It just puts a higher tax on them. It's called like the methane tax or something.
But my point is that even would have to go away because we eat a lot of red meat in America.
Yeah.
There's some pie in the sky ideas in there, but we can do a lot. We can, like you said, go to nuclear. Nuclear is a great idea. It's much better than coal. It does a lot less pollution, no pollution. And wind power is also great. Yeah, there's the problem with if it doesn't blow, then you don't have any energy. But we can supplement our energy with wind power. And also hydroelectric is amazing. I don't know the exact numbers, but a lot of Vegas is powered by the Hoover Dam. So yeah, I mean, for me, I think a lot of people look at AOC's Green New Deal and they think that she really thinks she's going to get all that passed. No, she's a smart lady. She knows most of that crap's coming out.
Oh yeah, I mean the New Deal, the Green New Deal wasn't written by AOC or Bernie Sanders. It was written by climate
No,
scientists.
but she definitely was the face of it.
Well, I mean, Bernie Sanders was the face of it. She was just kind of like I don't know what a good word is. She was just kind of like his partner in crime with it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Well, not in a derogatory way. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know what you mean. But I will say, if 2028 happens and she runs, you can bet to see a whole lot of TikToks from me about her.
You think AOC is going to run for president?
I don't think she'd run in 2028 because she would be 35 at that point, maybe a little bit older than minimum age. But I would love it if she did.
I mean, AOC doesn't even have half approval in her own district. I mean, when she came in, she was at like 60%, and now she's down to like 38%. I mean,
there's a whole. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think she could please the entire country if she can't even please half the people in her own district. I mean, there's no way she's going to get reelected into that seat. No shot.
There's a whole lot of people in this country that love her to death. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but not a whole lot of those people live in Queens. I think the Bronx, Queens area that's her district. They're actually talking about. I read a few op-eds that they were actually talking about eliminating her congressional seat when they do the gerrymandering in for the 2020 census because everybody in Congress hates her so much.
I haven't heard that. I'll have to look that up. But
yeah, I can send you an article after.
When this election season first started, I was a Warren fan. I gotta say, AOC sold me on Bernie. I heard one of her rallies for Bernie, and that's why I made the switch. Quite honestly, I love that woman. You will see a lot of propaganda from me.
You'll see a lot of negative propaganda from me.
Oh, I know I will. We'll be button heads for years.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I mean, I think that concludes pretty much everything. It was a very respectful conversation, and I think that you're an awesome guy, and you're a really nice person, and I respect you for that.
Same.
Yeah, it was great having you on the channel. So yeah, guys, say bye to everybody.
See you guys.
All right, I will end the stream.